Dude, I'm so glad we did it. We've made it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's hard. Everybody, you wouldn't believe my ability to procrastinate. I don't know. Turkey season seems to sneak up on me every year. I start so early, man. We're I literally walked in the door maybe 3 minutes ago. So we've been on the road all day, and we've got so many irons in the fire with NWTF big convention coming up next week, and then we come back for a day or two, and then we're on the road for a few months. So we got a lot of
Yeah.
irons in the fire. So yeah, everybody wants to talk turkey this time of year, and boy, it's our busy time of year for sure.
I know, man. I reached out to you. Gosh, it had to just be a few weeks from now, last year. And you're like, man, I would love to do it, but like we're about to hit the road now. And I was like, I just had no idea your schedule started this soon. I mean, you're going to go to what, August?
What's that? No, we'll be on the road starting. Youth season down in South Florida starts the 24th, I think, this year of February, and we'll be on the road until 7th or 8th of June. So yeah, it's a nice long lengthy season for sure.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So, hey, I want to get back to that 10th Legion quote. I don't hunt turkeys because I want to. I hunt turkeys because I have to. Dude, that summarizes you better than anything, I think.
Yeah, probably so. Unfortunately, yeah, it's a disease. It's something that we can't shake. Those of us that kind of were bit by the bug. So, yeah, that's an all encompassing quote for sure.
Yeah, go back to the beginning. I mean, was it always turkeys for you, or was it just being outdoors, or what?
Just being outside, really. I had a dad that was infatuated with the outdoors. I mean, deer hunting was his thing, and just drug us around behind him. And small game, had a pack of rabbit beagles, and I don't know. I was just a kid that always was wanting to sound like whatever I could hear. So we would chase whatever would make a noise, really. And so turkeys just kind of fell into my wheelhouse, just being able to listen, the dialogue, the vocabulary, being able to mimic them, being able to fool them, and getting them close, and kind of being kind of one of the crowd, so to speak. You can kind of get into nature. Kind of something I've always been into is just kind of getting inside, Mother Nature's little dialogues and whatnot without them realizing that who you really were. So turkeys allowed me to do that. So it just kind of was a natural progression to kind of migrate into being infatuated with them, and that's only continued to grow.
Yeah, dude. You had a video. I think it was. Gosh, I watched a lot of them. I think it was maybe, I don't know, no more than 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago or something like that. And I can't remember where it was. It was something where you got around this ridge and you were crawling up this crevice. And dude, I was like, that is so much woodsmanship on display right now. And if you're not watching something like Pinhoti, you're just not seeing this. And I almost thought to myself, like, I don't think guys think they have permission to do it. Like, I don't think guys think they have permission to get on the ground and crawl to an animal,
Yeah.
whether it be a turkey or whatever. And I just love how you display that, man.
Yeah, I mean, we started when I started this thing, and we started, swinging the bat at this whole video and stuff. It was on display right from the beginning that we were hunting turkeys. We were not trying to video turkeys, so do not expect there to be, incredible footage. Don't expect to get the kill shot much, if any. We were there to display hunting in what we've considered one of its most purest forms. And we just hunt turkeys, the way we like to hunt turkeys, which is, using for the most part what's between our ears. That's what we don't rely on much else other than some yelpers and kind of strategy and tactics, and what we've learned just kind of being out there and getting in there, learning our quarry. I think is the most important thing, kind of being able to think like a turkey, and that's kind of what we use to our advantage. And yeah, that whole video in it thing was new, and I would hope that we've gotten better over the years and being able to get the camera angles that we need to get more shots on video. But for the most part, what I'm wanting to make sure that we don't lose is just the storytelling ability, and just the little bit of the educational aspect, and like just bringing people along. I'm more interested in making a viewer feel like they're there with us, like they're there on our shoulder or in our pocket. I'm more interested in putting them there than I am about getting some fancy kill shot or getting some incredible footage of the turkey's feathers raising on the back of his neck or whatnot. That's not the. There's plenty of guys that do that and do a phenomenal job. That's not me. I'm hoping that I can put the viewer there to feel like they were part of the hunt, so their adrenaline's flowing, they're breathing heavy when everything comes down, just like we are when we're there. So
yeah, dude, you could feel it, man. You guys do such a good job with it, because you can tell like you're in kill mode out there, and it's just super fun to watch, man. All right, so we got Justin. What's up, man? Thanks for being here. Let's see here. There's a question here somewhere. He says, I want a shirt like you have on, Mike. You know where you can get it? pinhoodieproject.com. Let's see here. Okay, no questions, just a bunch of cool comments. Justin, I'm glad you're here, dude. So let's talk about, so what made you want to start Pinhoti? Like, I don't want to ask it in a way a lot of other people ask it, but just from the sense of woodsmanship, because I mean that's why me and the guys started HuntBetter, because we were like, man, if we don't, it's almost like we're getting to that age. If we don't shine a light on woodsmanship, then the light's going to start turning to cameras and to this gadget and this gadget. And we're like, man, those are cool and they have their place, but like you can't replace woodsmanship. And like this thing has to be built on the foundation of woodsmanship. We got to protect that culture. And it sounds a lot like why you started Pinhoti.
Yeah, in a nutshell, it's very much to do with that. We saw, and not that we don't use technology, because we do, but we just saw just the fashion that's turkey hunting specifically, which was our passion. We saw it taking a turn that we didn't find favorable for the bird. We didn't find it favorable for the traditions, the culture of turkey hunting. We saw the ways of old kind of being shadowed, in our opinion, from what I could tell. Once we started Pinhoti Project, we found that there was a lot more folks like us than we realized still out there that hunted the way we hunted. And not that we were kind of frowning upon any way that anybody else did it. The way that we did it wasn't portrayed. You couldn't find it out there. If you Googled turkey hunting or got on YouTube and looked up turkey hunting, very few clips were out there that everything was kind of one-dimensional. You saw a lot of field hunting. You saw Western turkey over decoys. You saw a lot of stuff that just wasn't quote unquote home for us. So we said, you know what? It may not make pretty footage, but I think there's a necessity to put of what we feel like turkey hunting is. We kind of try to talk people through it, because we realized right from the beginning the footage wasn't going to be there when you hunt woods, pressure turkeys, and you hunt, turkeys of the Southeast essentially. And when you hunt those, the footage may not be there. So it was going to be very important for us to be able to carry the viewers along through words, kind of talk about what we were doing, as well as showing it through video. And that way we could drag along, because we knew the footage was probably going to be less than stellar, and it was going to be hard to follow along without some type of narration. So my objective was to hopefully have videos that I could put together that I would not have to use voiceovers and a lot of subtitles and whatnot. I wanted the viewer to be able to hear our voice and our explanations real time, because I feel like that's what puts the viewer there, is the real time dialogue. Because once you go back and you revisit something, months, even days later, it's just not the same. So if you can kind of either explain what you're doing or explain your reasoning or your thought process at the time that it's actually happening, I feel like that kind of puts the viewer there, as well as is easier to understand, and it's easier for you to get the point across. And that's just kind of the method that I went about, creating the Pinhoti Project, was that idea of putting the people there. And with the fashion that we hunted, kind of relied a lot on woodsmanship. So it just kind of fell into place that we appealed to a lot of those more traditional style hunters that began commenting and began, becoming a fan, I guess you could say, which is kind of, I hesitate to use that word, but that just kind of, gave us a pat on the back. Go, yeah, that's how I do it. It's good to see somebody else doing it. It's good to see somebody motivating people to try this style, because I truly do believe, and I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't, but I truly believe that's the best way to kill a turkey. I wouldn't be, on my little soapbox all the time talking about that's the best way to kill a turkey, if I didn't believe that. So, and I truly believe if folks slow down and they do it that way, it's a I've done it every way, so I can kind of speak from experience. But to me, and to the most of the folks that I have that kind of kind of drifted back to this way of hunting. Um, Man, when you sit down with your back to a tree and you yelp one up and it's just you and him, and it's a much more fulfilling feeling. And with the reverence that we have for the resource, every one of them that has to die, we sure like to appreciate them and make sure we get as much as we can out of them, and give the most fulfilling experience we can from taking one's life. So that's kind of the way that we've put our mark in the sand. If we're going to kill one, it's going to be in that fashion. So that was kind of the idea behind the Pinhoti project. A lot of that kind of fell into place after we started carrying a camera around, but we didn't really know what we were doing, but we kind of had an idea, and so it's kind of ballooned into what it is now.
Yeah, dude, it's been so much fun to watch this thing just grow. I mean, like, even when you go back to your videos, I don't know how far they go back. It's got to be more than 10 years, right?
Oh man, I don't know how old. I have some videos that are so old. I mean, we used to start. Gosh, I'm trying to think. I have my first single season Grand Slam on a barrel camera. I think it's still on YouTube somewhere from like, gosh, it has to be 2000, maybe 8, 2006, maybe. So it's been quite a few years, and it's on there somewhere. But Pinhoti Project started in 2018 is when we actually coined the name and started kind of going the route that we do now, trying to polish things up a little bit. And I got some editing software, sold a truck, and bought an editing machine. So I mean, started making some strides into somehow polishing this stuff up a little bit, making something out of it, rather than just videoing it and taking raw footage and throwing it on YouTube. And but yeah, that's kind of the way it all happened.
I love it, dude. I love it. Okay, we got a bunch of questions coming in. Let's see. Justin says, "Are you coming to Corbett this year?"
Oh, I don't know where I'm going to be yet this year. We don't really have an idea on what we're going to do until we're there. So.
Okay, Derek, thanks for being here, man. Derek says, "What's your favorite place to hunt? Hunt type of bird?" Let's see. Maybe you wrote it wrong. Let's just go with, what's your favorite place to hunt birds?
Terrain. Yeah, I'm a hardwoods mountain hunter myself. I like steep terrain. I like hardwoods. I like getting up high. I like using elevation. I like using topography to get close to turkeys. That's my favorite. Now, I like any terrain where one's gobbling. Obviously, I make do. But yeah, if I had to guess, if I had to say which was my absolute favorite, it's going to be those hardwood ridges of northern Alabama, northern Georgia, southern Tennessee. I mean, those hardwood ridges are a lot of fun to hunt.
Yeah. I had that kind of same thing going on down here at the big woods right around, well, in South Carolina. There's some big woods there with some rolling hills, and it just makes it a lot of fun. Okay, let's see. Dave, I live in Florida and yet to kill one. They go quiet off the roost. How should I go about something like that?
Florida turkeys are a special breed. We work really hard to try to get on vocal turkeys in Florida because that's the nature of the turkey I like to hunt. And it makes a lot better video, a lot more fun to hunt, just for being frank. But I've had to hunt a lot of turkeys in Florida that don't gobble like what you're talking about there. And the thing about Florida is everything is typically wet or sandy. So these turkeys are painting a picture as soon as they hit the ground, and you really have to follow the sign. These turkeys can live and die on those roads and buggy paths and 2 tracks. So you can learn a lot just by really opening your eyes and paying attention to what the sand or the mud's telling you. Because if those turkeys are on the ground, typically they're leaving some type of track just because it's the vegetation and the moist soil. So it's really, really important in Florida more than anywhere else to really pay attention to what the ground's telling you. Let the ground talk to you, slow down, pay attention to every little detail. And also, when you do pick up on a gobbler track, and especially say if you pick up a gobbler track and some strut sign, you pick up on some hen and gobbler tracks that are fresh and a couple days old, that lets you know that turkey's frequenting that area. It's not just a by happenstance thing. They've been there more than one time. That's where you really need to, you need to park it, and you really need to be careful in that area, because these turkeys, if you bump them and they go a couple hundred yards, man, it can be really hard to, you got to start that whole process, that whole seeking process over again. Once you find one and you lock down, Osceolas are notorious for not being vocal birds, so that, they don't have to gobble to kill them. That's the thing. They don't have to gobble to kill them. So just read that sign, use what the ground's telling you, and kind of slow down. When it comes to hunting Osceolas versus especially the western subspecies, but even easterns in a lot of aspects, you really got to put it in a low gear, and it's really time to crawl.
Yeah, that's a good response. All right, Justin, hopefully that helped you, man. Chris, thanks for being here, dude. He says, when you have a bird answering your calls, at what point should you set the call down? Great question.
Oh man, yeah, that's going to be all of these questions, unfortunately, are situational. But you can for sure. That's all going to depend, man. If you've got competition, is the bird by himself? Is he got hens with him? Is there jakes present? Is there another bird in the distance? Just some generic answers would be, if that turkey gobbles at you, cuts your calls, and is closer, from one gobble to the next. It's always better to play it safe. You don't want him being able to pinpoint you when he comes into eyesight. Your setup will always be the most important thing you do. Get your setup to where the turkey's in shotgun range when he makes his appearance, so that he can't put his eyes on you and really study where your calling's coming from. And so it's always best to keep the calling to a minimum. Here again, that's going to be situational. You get into a circumstance where you've got hens that you're competing with, or the turkey's being, kind of being pulled a different way due to hens, or sometimes turkeys just have their mind made up, and you're kind of trying to get them to divert their path a little bit to use a little more calling in that situation. But to kind of, for a short answer to that question is definitely going to be, if you've got a turkey that gobbles from 200, cut your call, and the next gobbles at 150, then start putting the call down. I mean, you'll hear him, and you can definitely soft call and stuff like that. You don't want to blow the turkey away. If the turkey's making an advancement, he winds up at 50 yards, and you don't know it. You don't want to hit him with a flurry of cutting that's going to kind of not seem realistic for him. The soft stuff is definitely where you want to break it down to when it comes to a turkey that's going to be getting close to you.
Oh man, that's good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, we'll keep going. We got a lot of questions, so I'll hit them. I got like dozens of questions of my own, you guys. I want to ask too, so I got to get y'all's out of the way. That's mine. Okay. Derek says, I hunt the Appalachians of Virginia. Any tips for going in blind? Oh, this is a great question. Any tips for going in blind and selecting places based on terrain alone? We might hang out here for a little bit.
Yeah, man, I've kind of hit on this as a mini, because that's a lot of the stuff that we do is, it can be the first time that we've ever been on the dirt. I like to the topography maps are your best friend, man. I mean, you jump on those topo maps and you get the high points. What I like to do, we all know there's a magic time. There's that 25 minutes of first light where turkeys are gobbling. If we're fortunate enough to get good weather so that it breaks good and clean, you don't have a lot of wind, I like to put my ears on as much turkey ground as possible during that 20 to 25 minutes. So what I don't want to do is be on an island, so to speak. I don't want to be on this high knob to where, I can hear a lot of ground, but it's going to take me 45 minutes to get off that high knob, cross the valley, get in the truck, go down the road, and get on another high knob, because I'm going to have just toasted, a lot of that 20 to 25 minutes. So what I like to do is find a long spine ridge, or two ridges that are really close to each other, so I can swap between them really quickly. I don't like to waste all my time, quote unquote, putting all my eggs in one basket, to be cliche here, but I don't like putting my eggs in one basket, because if something happens and it doesn't work out, then you just hose that whole magic hour. Now, granted, you kill a lot of turkeys up into the day or whatnot, but what I do like to do is look for diversity, look for things that, the smallest amount of area that's going to have everything a turkey wants. Some open areas for bugging, especially if it's a little bit later in the season and your hens are already kind of starting to concentrate heavy on the insects because they're going to nest and needing that protein. Open areas for loafing, open areas for strutting. So you have an area that's got a little bit of an open area, some creek drains or whatnot, good ridges, some past crop. Maybe some pines for roosting if you're, in the areas in the southeast where a lot of times they'll pick pine trees to roost in. So if you got an area that's got all of that diversity in one little tight spot, it's where I like to make sure I can put my ears over it. And even when I'm trolling, like a lot of people call it cutting and running or something like that. To me, a lot of people get reckless when it comes to cutting and running. I like to be a little bit more strategic. I like to call thinking the turkey going to answer every time I make a call. So every time I call, I'm looking sure I have a spot to set up. I'm not making, I'm not revealing myself over the crest of the ridge. I'm not revealing myself around the bend in the road. I'm making sure that I'm calling into areas before whatever it is in that area can put its eyes on me. So I'm giving it an opportunity to gobble before I make myself known. But essentially, that's it. When it comes to new ground, I'm just trying to put my ears on as much good turkey ground with good diversity where turkey should be as possible during that first 20 to 25 minutes. And then as the day goes on, I'm going to strategically pick my way around those good, quote unquote, turkey areas. And the thing is, if you don't get into gobbling turkeys, it don't mean that there's not gobbling turkeys in there, just not gobbling turkeys that day. So all depending on how much ground you have to hunt, whether you're flexible as far as moving. Me personally, I like to move. I'm looking for a gobbling turkey if I'm on, that's why I don't tie myself to one spot if I don't have to. I like hunting public a lot of times because it gives me that flexibility to hunt big chunks of ground and just keep moving until I find a vocal turkey. That's just the turkeys that I like to hunt. But in certain situations, you dive in and you like, I know there's turkeys in here. This is what I have to hunt. They're not gobbling today. That's when you start strategically picking your place, your way through that area and looking for sign, looking for fresh scratching, looking for, roosting sign, looking for tracks or whatever it may be to kind of hear again. If the turkey gobbles and you're up high, he's almost giving you a free pass. He's giving you a cheat code. He's letting you know he's in there. And if he doesn't gobble like that, you have to kind of dive in there and do your own homework and start putting a picture together that what he's doing without, the vocal aspect of it with the sign and whatnot. So.